Hi, my name's Ro. I'm a clinical psychologist. Welcome to a day in my life, and also welcome back to the Psych Diaries. Okay. Good morning. Welcome to my clinic. Officially changing out of sneakers into work shoes that I actually just keep in the clinic the entire week. For those who have been around for a long time, I know it's been a long time since my last upload. I think probably more than a year, and I'd love to kind of catch up about it, but I also know there are some people who are not interested at all, so let's just roll a day in my life and then join me at the end if you wanted to have a bit of a catch up. Okay, a lot has happened in the last year, so yeah, there's a lot to catch up on. So for those who don't know, I work in private practice kind of half the week, and in private practice I work one-on-one with clients doing individual therapy. Sometimes it's not one-on-one. Today I'm also seeing some teens, and sometimes they bring their parents in. Got a good mix today. I've got 5 clients today, and then I've got 7 clients tomorrow. So this is a pretty typical week where I'll have between, sometimes even like 4 up to a maximum of 7 clients every day. Really good mix. I really like private practice in that way, in that you get to see all types of different presentations. So I'm probably going to stop talking and I'll just start planning. So I look through all of my clients. What I do is I open up and I look at the last kind of note or the last 2 notes, and then at the end of every note, after I've described the session content, I always write next steps or next session, and I'll write like when this session is, and then I'll also write what I think would be the next step in our treatment plan. So it's good in that way that I don't have to like figure it out today. Usually last session I've planned what would be a good direction for today. Not every session ends up according to plan. In fact, a lot of times it doesn't. There's other stuff that people bring in, but it's just good for me to have that so I know that I have a direction to head in. For this particular person, we're kind of early on in our therapy, and my plan was to introduce downward arrow questioning, which I actually have a video on, and thought challenging techniques. So we're really diving into cognitive therapy today. So for those who are new to this channel, I just wanted to do a little clinic tour. So client comes in, they usually sit over there, I usually sit over here, and then we have a box with tissues. And so my view usually of the client is here. And this chair, if you're wondering, yes, it is a random chair in the background, but one of the therapy models I use is schema therapy. In some parts of schema work, you do these experiential exercises where you actually bring the chair in, and we do all sorts of different exercises involving the chair. Well, it's just called chair work. And an example of an exercise might be that you have someone's being really self-critical, and we get their critic to like sit on that chair, and we have people actually move from the main chair onto that chair, the critic chair, and speak to themselves as if they were their inner critic. So we might say, you're an idiot, you can't do anything, why are you always stuffing everything up? And then we might get that person to move back into their own chair and really try and process like, how does it make me feel to have this in my head all the time? Kind of drawing out something that is internal and just putting it out and seeing it in an external way. Okay, we've got 5 minutes until client starts, so I'm just gonna like chill, drink some water. So I'll see you in a little bit, probably after I've done my first couple of clients and it's break time. Okay, bye. Okay, 2 sessions down out of 5. Gone well so far. First session was really interesting. Sometimes thought challenging can be quite surface level and we're just taking, evidence for and against. Today actually went quite philosophical, which is interesting. Another client that I saw just then presents with ADHD, so it's autistic and an ADHD. We're a more long-term client and they're supported by NDIS, which is the National Disability Insurance Scheme. So NDIS clients work a little bit different to Medicare clients. In Australia, Medicare gives you up to 10 sessions rebated per year or discounted per year. NDIS clients have gotten funding from the government to have a much longer period of therapy. So the way that we can support NDIS clients is more about like real lifestyle, skills building, being able to get them more involved in the community with like work or socializing, like routines, and maybe it's like less acute psychological therapy, but it's really thinking holistically about their life and setting up all of those supports. And we need that. Like a psychologist having 3 sessions with someone who's had a long trauma history of bullying and anxiety and depression, it's just not enough. So thankfully we do get NDIS for some clients. So I've seen this particular client for like 2 years now, so has had lots of dips and troughs as we've gone through our time together, but today's session is doing really well. My third client is about to walk in, so I'll chat to you later. Okay, this is Maria. She's my colleague. She works in the room over there. On a typical clinic day, we have lunch together, which is lovely because I think the last time I vlogged, I had no buddies, so I just ate lunch alone. We always make sure to take lunch, which is really great because Maria encourages me to take that work-life balance. So
I do.
What do? We just talk about everything, like tricky things. Sometimes it's clinic questions, sometimes it's like just random life stuff.
What should I get for a sweet treat?
Oh yeah, we should go. Okay, I'm out for my walk. It's such a nice day. I feel like the last couple of weeks during clinic, it's pouring so hard I literally can't go anywhere. So for the first time, I get to go back on my summer walks and blue skies, clouds, you can hear the birds. It's a very good day. Okay, reporting back. This walk is actually a lot more stressful than I thought it would be. I just got swooped by a magpie. For those who are not from Australia, magpies are these big black birds that like swooping people. And when I was younger, I used to wear a bike helmet with like sticks coming out of the bike helmet so that they wouldn't swoop, but I'm surrounded by tall trees. Okay, I'm back for my stroll. I have 2 more clients this afternoon and then we're wrapping up. This actually feels really strange because usually I'm like very used to an average of 6, so I almost feel like I'm on holiday today. Okay, so I'm done for the day. That was our 5 clients. Went smoothly. Last one went a little bit over time because I was working with a family, so we kind of wrapped the usual session with the child at around 45 past, and then we had mum come in and then we ended up going over everything we talked about and then we kind of extended it and mum had some concerns. So yeah, child and family work definitely is more full on because you've got managing dynamics between parents and their children, managing dynamics between siblings sometimes come in. When I used to work at the child practice, like I might have like 5 people sitting in the room at once. So yeah, definitely a different way of working. So now that we finished, I am going to write up all my notes. I was quite lucky in that this morning between each session, I had a little bit of time that I could type up notes. So now I'm just doing my last 2. I guess just to give you some details from today, to give you a sense of what we might work with. I had a client today who has been experiencing a lot of emotion dysregulation, particularly low mood and depression in the context of a marital separation or divorce from their partner. Then I had another client with bipolar disorder, and this is another long-term client. A lot of our sessions are about managing this person's mood and making sure to have kind of someone else who's outside of them kind of check in to see if they're going up or down. And the idea is that, you know, if we're going down, we want to nudge the mood up with some behavioral activation that we use for low mood. But then if their mood is starting to get manic, their sleep's going really poorly, they're, you know, skipping work, that we do some stuff to try and keep it down again. So reducing stimulation, making sure that we're staying really consistent with medication, making sure that life doesn't get too chaotic. It's really just about trying to keep within those boundaries so they don't sink into a super low depression or sink in, or like flip up into a manic episode. I also worked on someone and their substance use, lots of different substances with this young person. So this has been an interesting case where the substances are a coping mechanism, and it's very hard because substances are very powerful. Until we kind of are able to get quite confident at other emotion regulation skills, at sitting with our emotions, it might always be the kind of easy and quick fix. So that's been something that we've been slowly kind of working on. The last client was talking more about like school and like managing regulation at school. So yeah, huge breadth of sessions today. I'm just gonna wrap these up and then yeah, get out of here because the weather's really nice. Okay, see you later. Right, so it's actually the weekend now, but I did want to sit down, and I think this next section is just for the people who have been around for a long time and have noticed this period of absence. So I wanted to just give you a bit of a background and just to catch up really. So to be honest, I actually just haven't looked at YouTube and a lot of social media and everything for like an entire year, but I was taking a look recently and I was like, yeah, I think the 2 last videos that I posted, you can kind of see the direction that my thoughts were kind of headed in. And there's this one, my last thumbnail, it looks so stressed for a number of different factors. I was starting to feel like this process of filming and creation and kind of putting myself online was feeling like a lot. So I actually went kind of the opposite way, and I became a little bit of a cave woman for a year. Deactivated my personal Instagram and Facebook. I've been working really hard on becoming a little bit more off tech, really trying to focus in on the pillars and the foundations of my life. So I guess this last year I've been focusing a lot more on maybe relationships, family, friendships, health. And then it just kind of kept on rolling, where it was like, you know, it was 2 months without uploading to 3 months, 4 months, and then it was just not really a part of my life anymore. It wasn't until very recently I was involved with a careers panel, pathways panel for UNSW where I did my undergrad, and I like met you guys for the first time, and some lovely people came up and shared how they found some of the videos really helpful, and it had given them like a real authentic kind of behind the scenes look at what psychology was, and that had really impacted their decision to study psychology. And so that actually made such an impact on me. So for those students who did come up, this is kind of for you guys, because yeah, there is something really interesting about the way that our social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of these things work, where theoretically it's a media that connects you to people all around the world, but in some ways it doesn't feel real until you meet people in person. So anyway, long story short, I think I reconnected with the why of why I film videos, which is to really just give an authentic voice to what psychology can look like, both as someone who experiences therapy and as someone who is a therapist, someone who's in the early career space, and kind of hoping to destigmatize a lot of the topics that I work with, and just mental health in general, and provide just like solid, evidence-based, practical, clear, you know, straightforward information in a way that is helpful to people. So yeah, so in terms of where to from here, I'm I'm not really sure, to be honest. I don't have a particular plan. If they're helpful, I would like to keep being helpful. But in terms of kind of where my brain's been in the last year, I've done a bit more schema training, and particularly culturally informed schema training, and connecting and thinking more about the intersection of culture and therapy. And personally, I think I've really focused on health, and health in a more holistic sense. So I've been reading a lot on, I guess, the impact of technology on the way that we think and focus. Also even things like the impact of food, and just understanding how food can impact our energy, and been reading some stuff on sleep, minimalism as a concept, and the minimalism movement. And so I guess now to you guys, if there's anything at all that I can do that can be helpful, questions that I can answer, I'll try my best. Feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in, and I'll see you when I see you. Okay, bye.